You finish the manuscript, upload the file, and then discover you cannot answer one basic question. Who is this book for? That question can cost you months, not because the book is bad, but because readers have no clear way to recognize it. A useful book can still disappear when its promise is vague.
And that is the expensive mistake. Authors often think the market will explain the book after it is finished. By then the title is locked, the chapters are sprawling, and the cover designer is being asked to solve a positioning problem that began on page 1.
Right. It sounds safe to say a book is for everyone, but it gives you nowhere to aim the title, the examples, or the marketing. This is the 22 Lions Podcast, your daily blueprint for writing, publishing, and profiting from books. Today, we're going to make the decision earlier. Who needs this book? What do they want? And why should they choose your version?
Let's break this down. A market-first manuscript is not trend chasing. It is not stuffing keywords into a weak idea. It is simply choosing a reader and a meaningful promise before you invest heavily in drafting.
And it gives every later decision more focus. The outline, the subtitle, the cover, the Amazon categories, even the examples you include. Your book is an asset, not a hobby. So let's start with the person who is supposed to recognize its value.
The first question is not what topic do I want to write about. It is which reader is dealing with a situation I understand well enough to help with. Busy professionals is too broad. People who want success tells you almost nothing. Give the reader a situation, a goal, and the words they already use for the problem.
So if an author says, I want to write for entrepreneurs, what do you ask next?
Which entrepreneurs, at what moment, facing what constraint? A first-time consultant trying to get clients does not need the same book as a software founder hiring a sales team. Ask what they are trying to do, what keeps interrupting them, and what they say when they ask for help. They might say, I need more leads, I keep underpricing my work, or I don't know what to post. Those phrases are useful. They can shape your subtitle, your chapter headings, and your sales copy. Demographics describe a person. Their language reveals the problem they are ready to solve.
That is the difference between a category and a real reader. A strong statement might be, this book is for freelance parents who have valuable skills but struggle to protect focused work time while managing unpredictable family schedules.
Exactly. Now we can see the tension. The reader is not vaguely seeking productivity. They're trying to make reliable progress when the day refuses to stay predictable.
Which brings us to the promise. A topic is not a transformation. Productivity is a topic. Time management is a topic. The useful question is, what can the reader do after this book that they cannot do consistently today?
If the topic is productivity, ask what the reader is actually stuck on. Are they missing deadlines? Rebuilding the same schedule every Monday? Saying yes to work they cannot fit in? Then name the result they can picture and the method that gets them there.
So the promise might be, plan a realistic week, protect 2 high-value work blocks, and recover when family demands disrupt the plan. That is much stronger than become more productive.
Here's the lion's truth. A promise becomes stronger when a reader can imagine using it on Tuesday morning. If they can see the behavior, the result feels more credible. You are not promising a perfect life. You are promising a workable response to a recurring problem.
But let me push back. If the title says freelance parents, what about every other freelancer? Doesn't that narrow the business too much?
They may still buy it, but they will not be the first person who recognizes it. Precision helps the right reader stop scrolling.
Unless the promise becomes so narrow that it sounds like childcare advice instead of a business book.
Exactly. And that is the test. Narrow the situation, not the usefulness. The book can teach planning, capacity, client communication, and recovery. The freelance parent context tells the right reader why those tools matter now.
That is a useful distinction. The audience description is a doorway, not a fence. Now we need a sentence that holds the reader, the problem, the method, and the difference together.
Wait, let's make the formula easier to use. Who is it for? What hurts? What changes? And why are you qualified to help?
Much better.
For the example, we could write a practical weekly planning system for freelance parents who need consistent client progress without pretending every day will go according to plan. That is not necessarily the final subtitle. It is a market-facing hypothesis.
And from that hypothesis, a working title might be The Flexible Freelance Week. A working title gives the manuscript a destination. It helps you decide which stories belong, which exercises support the promise, and which interesting ideas are simply taking the book off course.
Then study the shelf. Look at about 10 comparable books on Amazon, in bookstores, or in recommendation lists. Notice their subtitles, categories, formats, page counts, promises, and review language. What do readers praise? What do they say is missing?
And the ethical boundary matters. You are studying reader expectations, not copying a title, a distinctive phrase, or another author's method. You are asking what the shelf has trained readers to look for, and where your experience offers a legitimate difference.
Maybe the comparable books focus on morning routines, rigid schedules, or deep work. Your difference could be flexible weekly planning, client deadlines, and a recovery plan for disrupted days. That is a real distinction. You do not need to attack the other books to explain why yours exists.
Keep that research contained. Give yourself 60 minutes for the first brief. Otherwise, market research becomes a very respectable way to avoid writing.
Yes, you do not need a giant report. Talk with 5 to 10 people who resemble the reader. Ask what they are trying to accomplish, what keeps getting in the way, what they have already tried, and what words they would use to search for help.
For this example, a reader might say, I can protect a work block, but I cannot protect the whole day. Or, I need a plan that survives a canceled school pickup. That language is gold because it is specific, emotional, and connected to the real situation.
You can also test one short concept post, email, or survey. Ask an open question before presenting your solution. If people describe the problem in their own words and ask follow-up questions, that is useful evidence. If everyone says, sounds great, but nobody recognizes the problem, keep working.
So, how do we decide? Not with applause alone.
Proceed when the same problem appears repeatedly. Readers recognize the desired outcome, and you can explain your method credibly. Revise when people care about the problem, but the promise is confusing or too broad. Pause when the problem is weak, the audience is unreachable, or you have no defensible reason to write this particular book.
And pause is not failure. It is a protected decision. Validation reduces risk. It does not guarantee sales. Even a strong response cannot promise bestseller status. It can, however, make your editing, cover design, categories, advertising, and launch decisions more focused.
Let's see what that changes inside the manuscript. In the freelance parent example, the first chapter was called Build Better Habits. We cut it. Not because habits are irrelevant, but because it did not answer the urgent question. What do I do when a client deadline collides with a sick child?
That one question gives the book a pulse.
Now the method might include a weekly capacity map, 2 priority work blocks, a client communication rhythm, and a reset plan for disrupted days. The outline is no longer a random collection of productivity tips. Every chapter supports the promise, and the packaging can clearly signal flexibility, freelance deadlines, and family reality.
Here's what I want you to do today. Open a blank page and write 5 lines. Exact reader, urgent problem, desired transformation, credible method, and legitimate difference. Add 1 working title and subtitle. Then set a 60-minute timer for comparable books and reader language. Stop when the timer ends.
Test the concept with a handful of real people or a short audience post. If the brief is clear, draft. If readers care about the problem but not the promise, revise. If the response is polite but empty, pause and investigate. Write it. Publish it. Profit from it. But do not confuse speed with skipping the decisions that make the book useful.
By the time you draft, 5 decisions should already be visible on the page. The reader's situation, the problem, the result, the method, and the reason your version deserves space on the shelf. That is how a manuscript becomes a focused publishing asset instead of a hopeful guess.
And once the concept is validated, professional execution becomes much easier. Your editor has a clearer brief. Your cover designer can communicate a sharper promise. Your KDP listing has a defined audience. Your audiobook, launch plan, and future books can all connect. Build the empire, one book at a time.
That's your step-by-step system for today. Apply it and watch your author business grow. If you have a validated concept and want expert help turning it into a professional book, contact 22 Lions for concept development, writing and editing, cover and interior production, audiobook creation, Amazon KDP strategy, and launch support. Your book is an asset, not a hobby. Publish like a pro. Profit like a lion.